number 1, which 6 months ago I had a leak on the sight glass. I'm going to do a leak check on that with my big blue. I'll show you that when I get to it. Now I've got 4 units in total in this room. These are all 4-ton split systems. The condensers are like 50 feet away, or 60 feet away from my current location. Now, I shut off 2 units, and the other unit, I raised the set point from 73 to 75. On this unit, I drove down the set point on the thermostat from 73 to 65 to force that one compressor to run very hard. So I've been doing this for 5 minutes, and I've got reasonable temperatures now. So we're going to start getting our information so we can now fill out our AC checklist, okay? So I write down the unit number, the date, and then the people that are doing the information. Now we come over here, and the first one that I'm going to get is this temperature right here. This temperature, that temperature right there is a refrigerant temperature, and it is after the evaporator. It is the actual low temperature. I'm going to put that number right here. That number is 64, but it's still dropping. I'm going to call it 63. Okay, now that I got that one, now I'm going to put my thermocouple probe in here. And I'm going to use this meter here to determine what the evaporator air temperature inlet and outlet is. So I'll just go down here underneath the fan. I'll call that one 83. So that's an air temperature. The evaporator inlet temperature is 83. Now I want to get the evaporator outlet. We'll call it 62. It's close enough. Again, that's an air temperature, evaporator outlet. 62. I'm going to get a delta T. That's going to be number 5 minus number 6, so 83 minus 62. 21 degrees. I'm getting a 21 degree split across this evaporator coil. It's a very good split. That's all the information we can get from here. Now we're going to take you over to the condenser. Okay, now we're at the condensers, where there's 4 condensers. We're working on unit number 1. Over here is the data nameplate. Now, it tells me that the compressor pulls 8 run load amps, and the fan motor pulls 0.8 full load amps. So I got the main disconnect right here for number 1. I'm going to open the door, and I'm going to check what my amperage is here. So that takes me down to 6.9 amps for the compressor. Now the rated full load amps is 8. So my log sheet looks like this. For the compressor amps I got 6.9, but the rated full load amps is 8. This compressor is running slightly up 1 amp less than rated amps, so the compressor is not stressed. It's running below its full load amps. So now that I've got that, now we're going to, I've already thrown the gauges on there. Let's start writing down the gauge information. Alright, before we get to the manifold gauges, let's go ahead. I threw my thermocouple in, and we're going to get the condenser inlet and outlet temperature. So this is the condenser outlet. And I want the high-end number. I want to know how hot this is getting. is too much charge. If it is high, there is not enough refrigerant. That number is a little on the high side, indicating to me that there's not enough refrigerant. And I do have some bubbles in the sight glass. Now, hold on, I'll refer to that in a second. Okay, I wanted to take you back to classroom environment. Obviously, it is much louder when I'm working around a condenser with the compressor running. Plus, it's dark, the lighting is not as good, and so forth. So now that we're in a classroom environment, let's go over the information that we derived. I've got my checklist, my AC checklist from today, right here. Now, 6 months ago, I have my AC checklist as well. Now, on 6 months ago, I have a before column. That was before I did anything. I got my initial readings, and then after I found that leak, I wrote it down. 2/14/14, found leak on liquid line sight glass, Titan glass, and no leak found now, and I added 6.8 pounds of R22. You're supposed to keep a refrigerant log so that you know exactly how much refrigerant you're putting in the unit, which I do. I keep a log of this stuff. Now, on the after side, after I put in this, I wrote down my readings. Now I can take those after readings and compare that to the readings that I got today. Now let's start with bubbles in the sight glass. When I was done after my charge, I had no bubbles in the sight glass. Today there are bubbles in the sight glass. Right there, that's kind of given me an initial feeling that, okay, I've lost some refrigerant. Now you saw on camera that I checked with my big blue right around the sight glass, which is where I was leaking last time. That is not my area that I'm leaking refrigerant. Now let's go over the rest of the numbers. Let's go with the compressor amperage. Today I got 6.9 amps. When I was done last time I had 7.3 amps. So the compressor, the load on the compressor has slightly decreased. That's a second indication of a loss of refrigerant because the compressor is not quite as stressed. Now an interesting thing about that is that if you look at the evaporator inlet, actually let's go over to the condenser. The condenser inlet temperature is 111 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go with the inlet. The inlet is 87. Last time the inlet was 84. So I'm actually 3 degrees Fahrenheit warmer on the condenser inlet. Now usually with that warmer temperature, that would be representative of more load on the compressor. My compressor with a warmer temperature compared to 6 months ago is actually pulling less amps, further indicating that there's something going on with the refrigerant circuit. Okay, what else do we have to look at? Let's look at the all-important superheat number. This is a capillary tube metering device. The last time I did this, I got a superheat of 15 degrees. Now I'm getting a superheat of 35 degrees. That is much warmer, 20 degrees warmer than last time. A third indication that, okay, this system has less refrigerant in it than it did 6 months ago. What else can we look at? Interestingly enough, though, I'm still getting a great delta T going across my evap coil of 21 degrees. I consider that fantastic. Last time, I only got an 18 degree split going across my evap coil. So it's ironically running more efficient now than it was 6 months ago. My condenser is giving me a delta T of 24 degrees, which is a great delta T. And last time when I left this unit, it was only 17 degrees. So what I believe is this. I believe I've got a small leak in the unit. I've lost some refrigerant. The ironic thing is that right now the refrigerant loss is not so great that it is upsetting the unit. The unit is still actually operating great. It's giving me great delta T's across both my evap and condenser coils. But because I'm looking at these three indications that's telling me that I've got a leak, I am at this point in time going to shut this unit off. I'm going to take my halogen H10 and I'm going to go around and I'm going to sniff and see if I can't find a leak. And then hopefully I will find a leak. This is a pretty good split system. It's got a pretty good distance in between the two coils. I've got like a 60-foot run in between. But I'm going to start at the condenser, and then I'm going to work my way back towards the evap coil, and I'm going to see if I can't find anything. If I do find anything, I'll do my best to put that on camera. But that's it for now. Basically, the reason why I wanted to go through this entire video was to explain to you how to fill out an AC checklist and the things that I'm looking for. And I showed it to you on 2 separate units. The first unit, which was in the data center, was a packaged unit where everything was all packaged in one unit. It wasn't split, and obviously the second system was a split system. So that's it for now, and I'll see if I can't follow up with this in a little while. Hello and welcome back. Alright, so the last time I left you, I wanted to do a leak check on this unit here, which is UPS unit number 1. I actually started over in the condensing section, took apart the panels, and I used my halogen H10, which is this leak detector right here. Halogen leak detector, and the type is H10A. So I just refer to it as a halogen H10. And the refrigerant that I'm working with is R22. So this goes on the right-hand side for R22. And then there's a sensitivity adjustment here. And I usually keep my adjustment like this, so that it's beeping like this. The camera might not be picking this up, but there's a speaker here, and it actually makes a ticking sound. But I got this UPS behind me, and so there's a lot of ambient noise here. You might not be able to hear it, so you got to go by this. Now, basically, what I was doing was just kind of going in here like this, and I'm waiting for this thing to light up, and I can hear it ticking. See that? So then I came to this area here, and I just took my black Sharpie, and I just said, okay, I know I've got something going on in this area. So then what I did was, I took my can of Big Blue, which is this product right here, Big Blue leak detector solution. I got it set for spray, and I came down and I sprayed over here because I didn't know where the leak was at. Now, we'll reposition the camera and we'll show you the leak. Alright, there you go. There's the leak right there. Now, let me give it a spray here so I can show you. And you can see that bubbling right up there, so that you know that the leak is exactly right there, okay? Okay, now that we know where the leak is located, this is an aluminum coil. The date of manufacture on this is 1986. This puppy is not exactly brand new. It's pretty, it's pretty old. So what am I going to do about that? So aluminum is not the same as welding with copper. so what we've done is I removed my low side service port and I put on the can of Super Seal. I've purged this line right here and I've got my piercing valve back seat and I'm waiting for this compressor to start. Once this compressor starts up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pierce, there's a piercing seal in here, I'm going to pierce the seal and then back off on this to then allow the Super Seal, while the can is inverted, to be sucked in to this system, and it takes apparently about 5 minutes to do so. Once this Super Seal is in the system, all you do is run your system. We've dropped this thermostat down to 65 and raised the other ones up to 78. So this way, once this compressor comes on, it will stay on, which is what I want. I want this product to be circulated. It's got to find its way over to that evaporator coil, and it's got to find its way into that leak, and like a blood clot, it needs to build up in there and clot up. One of the other units started up. Okay, so basically that's where we're at right now, and I'm just waiting for this unit to kick on. And we'll report to you when we have more information. Thank you. One thing real quick I wanted to mention is the cost of a can of Super Seal. This is $80 a can, or at least that's what I paid for it, about $80. So it's not exactly inexpensive, but I mean, if you're trying to seal your system, it's a good value. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so we're back here in the classroom environment, and I have completely added the 1 can of Super Seal into the system, so that's completely added and that's done. Now what I've done on my AC checklist here is I made a note. The unit that I'm working in is obviously called UPS number 1, and I put the date that I found the leak at 8/8/14, found refrigerant leak on the evap coil. 8/11/14, I add 1 can of Super Seal to the system. So now the next question I want to ask myself is do I want to put a little bit of refrigerant in the system at this time? Looking at my numbers, I know that my superheat level is a little on the warm side at 35. The last time I touched the system on 2/14/14, I did have a superheat of 15 degrees, which is a much more reasonable number with no bubbles in the sight glass. But because all I did was add 1 can of Super Seal to the system, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the system alone. I'm going to run the system and run it hard. And the way there's 4 units in this UPS room. This is UPS number 1. I took the thermostat set point and I dropped this one to 72. And the other ones are either at 73 or in 74 degrees Fahrenheit. So this unit is definitely going to run more for the next 30 days than the other units. And what I'll do is I'll make a note of my calendar, and in 30 days I'll shut the unit down and I'll check that evap coil where that leak is to see if I've sealed it up. If indeed I have sealed it up in 30 days, I'll go ahead and top off the unit, probably to the point where I just simply have no bubbles in the sight glass. Top it off, no bubbles in the sight glass, mark down my readings as the after readings, and then I'm done. And then we just monitor it in the following year and see what happens. Okay, so that's where we're at, and basically the whole reason why I wanted to create this video was because I wanted to go over the AC checklist and exactly how you fill in all the different things, how I make my notes down here if I find an anomaly on the system, and then I keep these for a further review for a future date. If you would like a copy of the template for the AC checklist, you can do so over here at kencogliano.wix.com/kentraining. There's a contact section in there that you can go to request a copy for the AC checklist. If you want to go to my YouTube channel name is Ken Training, and that's it. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that we have you click in some videos of the future. And that's it. I'll see you later.